Let's examine this great classic Boogie Woogie bass line. You're doubling the bass with the guitar, and it's oriented around a dominant family chord, so you're playing a shuffle in the key of G. So let's look at the first structure. Now, most guys already know the minor pentatonic scale. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, then it starts over again. So you're playing over a G7 chord, and what you're doing with this bass line, this guitar lick, is that you're playing the arpeggio of the chord, but you're leaving the third out. Here would be the arpeggio. A G7 chord is formulated 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Then it would continue on across. So that would be the arpeggio. So the line is simply 1, 8, which is an octave of 1, flat 7, 5. Now if you're not hip on these numbers, remember that they always come from the major scale. Here would be a G major scale. G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, D is 5, E is 6, F sharp is the natural 7, so F natural would be a flat 7. You flatted the 7th note. That's what's the blues sound all about, the dominant thing. Alright, so you're using this down, up, down, up, down, shuffle, feel, down. I'll do a little slower, down, up, down. So every time you tap your foot, it's a downstroke. So now let's talk technique. Notice my index finger is not upright. When I play that low G, I have all the rest of the strings deadened here, because that's a very important tool in guitar playing, especially electric guitar. Then when I play the octave G, I don't do this. You hear that garbage? That open E? Don't yank your fingers off the string. Make sure you don't pick your fingers up real far, because you have to keep them on the strings to dampen. So I'm really just moving my index finger DIP right there. Notice how close I'm keeping my third finger. Now there's another technique for dampening here. You're going to need to move your first finger over for the F. You don't want to just try to use it with a bar. So watch my right hand palm. See in the video right there how I'm coming down the 6th string? I'm going to do it real slow. When I go over to play the octave G, right after I play the first octave G, my right hand settles down on the string, on the 6th string, and then I can freely pick my index finger on my left hand up and move it over to the F and not have to worry about an open E ghost note. Now, as I'm coming down, I play that D, the 5. The palm side of my ring finger on my left hand is dampening the 4th string. The main thing is that I'm not playing real upright. Now if I'm playing country type things, cross string exercise, then you have to keep your fingers upright. But in this particular lick, you don't want to. You might even put a little bit of palm mute on the whole thing. It kind of tightens it up. Alright, I've talked a lot about this lick. The final thing I'm going to say about the lick is that you might want to use your little finger for the octave. And maybe the 5. Practice it both ways. This is a different posture, more of a classical posture with your hand underneath like that. So if you had to throw in some blues licks, you're farther away from the posture you need for good string bending and vibrato if you're like this. Whereas if you use your little finger, do you see? You don't have to adjust your hand, your wrist. Robin Ford's a great player who plays a lot of licks that way because it just keeps everything in this tight blues-oriented posture. Okay, now that was the 1 chord in this blues. So every place where there's a G, that's the 1 chord. Remember, we're talking about the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. So C is the 4. So all you have to do is move the lick up a 4th. Now, if you have a lick that resides on your bottom 4 strings, it isn't going to move. All those strings are tuned 4 or 5 frets apart, a perfect 4th. So when you move the lick over, it won't change. So if you know how to play it in G, you know how to play it off the 5th string. And that'll take care of the C, which is the 4 chord, and the D, which is the 5 chord. Now, the only thing you got to really concern yourself with, when you're in position, it's easy to be legato. You're just walking. See, I'm just walking with my fingers. Index, ring, index, ring. When you're up here on the 5 chord, there's a shift. You end the G with the D note. Then you're going to have to start the D riff with your index finger on that note. Well, look what I've done. Watch my index finger. Do you see how right after I played the D, I got it on the 5th string, then I can use a guide finger and and get a legato shift there. Now, this whole principle of shifting, you see what I'm doing, how I'm playing that D with different fingers? That's a good thing to practice because you want to be able to shift quickly and cleanly and not break your legato. So you're shifting up. Here comes the D. Now watch this. You got to move real fast right there because you don't want a big gap. You don't want to go bop, bop, bop. It sticks out like a sore thumb. So where's your index finger in advance? Already on the 5th string, then you shift quickly. So what I suggest is you practice every connector. Take the last note of a G lick, connect it to the first note of the C lick, and vice versa. Then do that with each of the 3 chords so that you have good, clear connections because the lick itself is not that difficult. All right, now. Then on the last measure, you play root, octave 5th. Notice how I've fingered that. I'm using my 4th finger for the octave, 3rd finger for the 5th. Now, you play that ending lick, E, F, F sharp. Don't pick up your index finger. It will be a guide when you start over again. So here, that's a connector that you want to practice. Now, when you do that, your thumb and your hand move together. Don't try to pivot on your thumb because that'll affect your posture of your index finger and your middle finger and everything else. So you had... Okay? So that's the whole lick. It's really quite easy, and have some fun with it. All right, now I'm going to show you a little variation you could do. Crank up the gain a little bit on your amp and get gnarly, put some pinch harmonics in, and you're going to play the lick, but not in its entirety. You're actually going to do some accents because you've got the bass player playing the lick already.